Why do BCCI continue to disrespect the legends of the game? A couple of days ago, Ajinkya Rahane announced his retirement from international cricket, and a lot of people spoke about how it's so unfair to him because he served Indian cricket for so long yet didn't get a farewell game, didn't get the farewell that he deserved. And it's not the first time this conversation has come up in the last decade or so. Even Virendra Sehwag, when retired in 2015, did talk about how he was sad that he didn't get the farewell that he wanted. But do you even remember the last time an Indian player did get a farewell? We need to go all the way back in 2017 when Ashish Nehra retired from international cricket, retired from the T20 format after playing the first T20I against New Zealand at home in Delhi. He really got the farewell that he deserved and a player could hope for. But if you really think about it, the last time an Indian cricketer got the biggest of farewell, at that point it was almost like a festivity, was Sachin Tendulkar all the way back in 2013. The fact that BCCI arranged a special tour against the West Indies to ensure the 199 test match that Sachin plays is in Eden Gardens and 200th was at home in Mumbai just says something. And if that wasn't enough, the entire series wasn't about India taking on West Indies. It was about Sachin Tendulkar's 200 test match. It was also about his retirement because in his 200 test match in Mumbai, the coin that was supposed to be tossed to decide who's going to bat and bowl had Sachin Tendulkar's face embossed on it. BCCI went that far to make sure that Sachin really got the farewell he deserved. But what even is a farewell match? That's the important bit to understand. It's a match almost like an event where players, teammates and the fans get to celebrate the player who's retiring. Now this could possibly be done in two ways. One is when the player themselves decide that their time is up, that they want to retire from the game and they want to move on. One such example of that was Anil Kumble all the way back in 2008. He was the captain of the Indian Test team taking on Australia at home. He played the first Test match in Bangalore, missed the second Test match due to an injury, and during the third Test match he realized his body can't take it anymore and he doesn't want to put his body through the toil, which is when he decided to announce his retirement mid-match. And he got everything a legend like him could ask for. He got the guard of honor, he kept toiling and bowling more and more overs, and that Test match, even though it ended in a draw, was Anil Kumble's Test match. He really got all the love from the fans. Ironically enough, the other way a player can really retire is when the selectors and the team management decide that, hey, your time is up. And this is when you are already part of the squad, and one such example is Sourav Ganguly. Again, the same series in 2008. For starters, Ganguly was surprised he was selected in that Indian squad taking on Australia to begin with, because right before that was the Irani Trophy where he didn't find himself in any of the squads. That being said, he was selected against Australia, but there is a bit of a distinction. He was selected only in the first two test matches. But this is where Ganguly did what Ganguly does. He came to the press conference and spoke about how he's going to retire by the end of the fourth test match, which is also when if you're the captain and the selector and the coach, it almost becomes a compulsion to select Ganguly for all four test matches, because if you drop him right after the second test match, it just looks bad. And as much as he did retire on his own accord, this was almost selectors begging him to, because he was already in and out of the squad multiple times, and Ganguly himself knew that he might possibly never play for India after this series. You also know this because Chris Srikanth, who was the head selector at that point, right after Ganguly did announce his retirement, before the series had even started, Chris Srikanth publicly said how Ganguly made the right decision. So that says something about Ganguly's future. But do you realize something? There is an observation to be made about the names that I've picked out so far. Ashish Nehra, Sachin Tendulkar, Anil Kumble and Sourav Ganguly. All of these four players are players who debuted for the Indian team before the 2000. Alright lads, we have 4 minutes into the video and you still haven't hit that subscribe button. Get us to 40,000 subscribers so that by the end of the year, we can reach 100,000. Now if you're a cricket fan, just for a couple of seconds, think about which player, which Indian cricketer who debuted after 2000 for the Indian team got a farewell to begin with. If you have any names, comment down below. But if you look at the prominent names like Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Cheteshwar Pujara in the test format, Suresh Raina in the white ball format, no one really got a farewell. And so this is where I come back to the first question that I even posed. Does BCCI respect the legends of the game? Well, let's just say it's a bit complicated. For starters, BCCI is a problem when it comes to communication, because active players, retired players, selected players, or even dropped players, how BCCI really don't communicate to them about their future. Because if you were to take the example of Saurav Ganguly once again, when he did announce his retirement, he did talk about how the selectors didn't really tell him what his future holds, if he's going to play for the Indian team, if he's not going to play for the Indian team, which is also why he decided that he probably knows he's not going to get selected, but there was no communication, and that was the major problem. Even if you look at an active player today, someone like a Mohammad Shami, who the selectors seem to be looking away from, he has constantly talked about how there is no communication from the selectors. He doesn't know what to do to get back into the squad. This is also where you look at other recent examples, players who've retired, someone like a Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Before I do talk about them, let's get on the same page and understand that their retirement, or them getting possibly dropped from the test squad, was warranted. Because when you look at Virat Kohli's last 20 test matches across 35 innings, he only averaged 34 with 300s and 350s. They are simply not good enough numbers. And even if you look at someone like a Rohit Sharma, across 20 test matches, that is 36 innings, he only averaged 28 with 300s and 450s. Again, numbers that warrant a player from getting dropped. But the problem was they retired after a series, after playing a couple of Ranji games, after which they could have possibly gotten selected. Now, a lot of rumors suggest that the selectors forced them to retire. Couldn't BCCI have told Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli in the series against Australia down under that, hey, this is your last series and this is going to be it for your test career? If BCCI were able to do that, they could have possibly gotten the farewell they truly deserve. Especially someone like a Virat Kohli who's not only scored a lot of runs for India, but also captained the Indian team for a lot of years. But this is where, when you look at it from BCCI's perspective, you think about if they did communicate it to the players, and if the players were honest about it in the public, that selectors have told me that my time is up, don't you think there would have been an uproar against BCCI and the selectors? It would have been really bad public relation wise. But of course, they are an organization, and is that really an excuse they can sit back on? Because when you look at another example of a cricketing board asking a player to retire, the name that comes to mind is James Anderson, a player who has 700 plus test wickets, one of the best, if not the best test bowler England has produced, one of the best test bowlers cricket has ever seen. With all of this going on for him, the England management sat him down and told him that, hey, we don't look at you in the future plans of England test cricket. James Anderson wasn't happy about this. He wasn't on board, but he had to accept it because this was a decision made by the English cricket board. According to James Anderson, he was still fit, he still wanted to bowl. In fact, he continues to play county cricket even now. But like I said, he had to accept it. He got his last series, he got a farewell match, and he was celebrated as an England cricketer. If BCCI were able to do all of this with their players, a lot more players will be able to get the farewell that they deserve. But BCCI almost seems like they're sitting back on the fact that if they do tell a player, and if the player makes that message public, it will not go down well for BCCI because of the culture in which we celebrate our players, the culture in which we look at cricketers as almost like demigods. A conversation of a player retiring, or a conversation of a player possibly being dropped, especially if they're players like Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, almost seem like taboo in this country. But all that being said, if we come back to the recent retirement of Ajinkya Rahane, the conversation makes no sense at all, because he was dropped 3 years ago in 2023, and even his numbers in the last 20 test matches are abysmal. In the last 20 test matches, he only averaged 25 across 35 innings with 100 and 450s. Numbers that again warrant a player from getting dropped. Yes, he was a great servant of Indian cricket, captain in Australia to win the Border Gavaskar trophy. But if you're not performing for your country, you might as well get dropped. And this is where the real question rises, right? If BCCI went to Ajinkya Rahane in 2023 in West Indies and told him that this is going to be the last series and after this we are never going to pick you, would the 35-year-old Ajinkya Rahane be able to accept that? Because even at that point, he was dropped and picked multiple times in the test squad. So he himself would have believed that he can make a comeback. But that's a player's point of view. Could BCCI have done their job to tell the player that this is it for you from our side? And this is where I think BCCI really need to get better at. The fact that they need to be blunt with their decision to the players and then let the player take their call for themselves. But if you were to look at cases like Ajinkya Rahane, Chiteshwar Pujara, Virendra Sehwag in the test format, who were dropped and then retired a couple of years later, you can't have farewell matches for them, because in elite sport, especially when you're picking players in the playing 11, which is supposed to be the best playing 11 on their day to represent your country, you have to pick the best. You can't pick players for the sake of it, especially after you've dropped them a couple of years ago for the sake of a farewell match. A farewell match is a luxury to have and not a compulsion. It's a luxury to have if you're already in the playing 11 or even in the squad, but it's not a compulsion, especially after you've been dropped a couple of years prior, which is also what a lot of players and especially a lot of fans need to understand. Yes, you need to be able to celebrate a player, but a player themselves also need to know when the time is up or if the time is up. Now, this has been our video. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. If you've enjoyed this video, like, share and subscribe, all that good stuff. All of our links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.